I made it. Ooh. The lights go low when the night begins to breathe. Velvet after dark, everything you need. The city moves slow on the other side of glass. Velvet after dark, nothing good comes fast. 11:15 and the Boulevard is alive. Every engine purring like it knows how to survive. The rope lifts up for the ones who know the code. Silk and patience, that's the only road. She walks in wearing something that the room can't ignore. Heads turning slow motion toward the floor. I order two, don't ask the price. You never ask the price. Smooth as the rhythm on a warm night twice. So Raymond by the bar, he's been here since 94. He nods at me like we both know what the evening's for. A glass of something aged, something dark, something right. The music leans into the corner of the night. This ain't the place for the loud or the lost. Everything here has a memory. In a car, the lights go low when the night begins to breathe. Velvet after dark, everything you need. She leans across the table with a question in her eyes, babe. Velvet after dark, nothing good comes fast, but everything's alive. Smooth operator doesn't mean you move without a plan. Every conversation has a purpose, understand. I watch the room like a painter watches light. See who's performing and who's actually right. The booth in the back corner, that's where deals getting made. Where the handshakes happen in the dark, in the shade, not transactions. Understand it's between men who know the night has its own laws and its own zen. She's from somewhere warmer, she said somewhere with the sea. I say every city gets cold when you're free. She laughs like she's heard it, but she hasn't heard it from me. And the saxophone loop plays over the beat. Easy, the bar fills up by midnight with the regulars and the new. Everyone's searching for a feeling they once knew, a feeling they've been promised by the glow of the kind of night that only certain people know. Lights go low when the night begins to breathe. Velvet after dark, everything you need. And I've been here 1,000 nights, still searching in the dark. Velvet after dark, you leave a little of your heart. Yeah, there's a version of yourself that only surfaces at night, when the daylight rules don't apply and the edges soften right. When you're someone who moves through rooms on instinct and on feel, and everything around you seems to ask, is any others real? Old Raymond signals from the bar, last call is closed. A couple in the corner sharing something soft. I finished slow and tipped well in the nod to the door. The night gave what it promised and I don't need more. Tomorrow the sun will last for all of its bad. Put the velvet away, lay the dark down flat. But right now the music leans and the room holds its breath. And for a moment the night tastes like something before death. The lights go low, they always go low. Velvet after dark, that's the only place I know. Velvet after dark, velvet after dark, velvet after dark. We leave what we can't carry in the dark. Yeah. Hey. After the confession, we don't go home, we drive and stand. The city too alive to leave alone. She picks the route, I drive it, windows down halfway. The air is warm enough and we have something left to say. Not about the love that's settled now, it's in the air. We carry it between us like a lamp, a kind of care that doesn't need more words, just room to walk around. In the city at 2 a.m. is gentle with the fountain, love in it. The street light's easier, the corner's less severe. She points at something, says she hasn't been down here in years. And stretch a Boulevard she used to walk when she first moved to the city. city and needed somewhere to talk to herself. I know the feeling. I said I had a street too, just north of where we are, with the particular beat of the city. Underground will find you if you walk slow enough. Somewhere between jazz and morning. Somewhere between lost and enough. Somewhere between jazz and morning. A city at its most honest. Somewhere between jazz and morning. The two of us, the calmest. We've been in the weeks of carefully building toward this night. Somewhere between jazz and morning. Everything is right. She asked me something I haven't been asked before. Not exactly. She says, what did you want to be specifically? Before the life you built arrange itself the way it did? Not what you settled for. What was the actual bid you made for yourself when you were young enough to think you get to be exactly that? I sit with it, the brink of something honest. I say a musician, she says really. I say badly, she laughs that laugh. I say sincerely, I play keys badly with total commitment for 3 years. My uncle taught me, she says, the uncle with the LPs. I say yes, here's the part I never tell. I stopped because I was afraid not of failing publicly, but of how much I had laid on myself into the plane. How exposed every note left me. And I chose the kind of life where the exposure is more managed, more curated, more arranged, less damaged by the gap between the person you present and the person who plays piano badly, but with complete intent. She says that's the most honest thing I've heard since the confession. I say they're related. She says, what's the lesson? I say I'm still learning, and she says me too. She says she was gonna be an architect. I say I knew somehow. She says how? I say the way you read a room, the way you know immediately where the light falls, where the bloom of a conversation should be placed. She says that might be the most romantic thing anyone has said about my geometry. Somewhere between jazz and more. We both laugh at that. Somewhere between jazz and more. This is where it's at. Somewhere between jazz and more. Honest and complete. Somewhere between jazz and morning. The Boulevard and heat. We stop at a diner, one of the always open kind. The particular neon pink of diners designed to find the people who aren't ready for the night to end. The cook behind the counter waves at us, an old friend of everyone who's ever come through at 3 a.m. with someone. She orders eggs and something warm, I order coffee done. With the evening's drinking, this is what comes after. The velvet booth and the confession and the laughter. The particular domesticity of eggs at 3 in the morning with someone you love. I test the word without warning it to announce itself. Love. Yes, that's the word that works, that earns its keep, that has it blurred into something smaller than the feeling that I have. Sitting across from her in this diner on this half finished road between the night and the beginning of a day that will be different. This is the spinning of something new into the world. Love in the diner at 3 something, 2 people who couldn't find her. More perfect way to mark the thing if they had planned it. Somewhere between jazz and morning, we demanded nothing of the evening except the truth. And the evening gave it back with eggs in the vinyl booth. Somewhere between jazz and morning, that's the hour. Somewhere between jazz and morning, the best power. Somewhere between jazz and morning, she reaches across the table. Somewhere between jazz and steady, warm and able to hold the whole night in one gesture. I hold her hand. Somewhere between jazz and morning. I understand. I understand. Slow dance in neon. Yeah, 6 Friday, the room is busier than usual. Something in the air makes every conversation more visceral than usual. And she's already at the table with the look I've learned to read, like she's been working on the hook, 'cause something she wants to say but hasn't landed yet. I sit down and we order and I don't press, not yet. Just let the evening find its own way to the thing. The Moog bass underneath is doing its patient swing around the room. And then the DJ switches, slows the whole room down by about 20 inches of pace. And the floor goes from its regular scatter to the particular shape of bodies finding each other in the dimmer light. And she looks at me like a swimmer, deciding to water one eyebrow up a question. I say yes before she asks, no hesitation.
Slow dancing neon,
the floor in the low brass,
slow dancing neon,
the roads in the hourglass, shape of this moment that we didn't plan or know was coming.
Slow dancing neon,
the feeling and the humming of everything around us in a particular way. She fits against the rhythm of the song that's playing today. Not today, tonight, the particular way tonight. Feels like the song was written for this exact light. I learned to slow dance from my uncle at a wedding. The kind of dancing where the point is not the treading of correct steps, but the management of space between two people and the quality of the embrace. She's a better dancer than I am, I know it immediately. She moves the way people move who feel music differently than thought in the body first. I follow, and she doesn't correct me, just adjust and hollow. Space between us closes by some milliliters naturally, not dramatically, just the physics of two bodies gradually finding their arrangement in the sound. The neon lights behind the bar painting everything around. Dusting something between golden rows. The windows show the boulevard outside where Crenshaw goes about its Friday business, not knowing about this floor, not knowing about the roads and the Moog bass. And what's more, the particular way she rests her hand against my shoulder, like she's been resting it there all along, and bolder than the weeks of careful. Tonight the dance is honest and the room around us doesn't exist, I promise.
slow dancing neon,
She hums the melody,
slow dancing neon,
quietly, just for me.
slow dancing neon,
The brass plays its something,
slow dancing neon,
I feel everything. The song ends, we stay a beat past where we should step back. Something in the ending asks for just a little more of that, and we take it, just a breath, and then the room comes back around us with its ordinary boom of Friday energy. And she laughs, that 1 a.m. laugh, but it's barely past midnight. She says on our behalf, I think we just slow danced in public. I say we did. She says, are we gonna talk about it? I said, probably not right now. She says good, and we go back to the table, and neither of us says what we know, which is that this is already something. The Friday nights have already become appointments of the best kind. The lights already look different than they did 6 Fridays prior. The room already carries something of a choir of context. Every previous conversation, every small knowing adding to the foundation.
slow dancing neon,
After we sit back down, slow dancing neon.
slow dancing neon,
She says I like this town when it gives you a good Friday. I say me too.
slow dancing neon,
Renee, I think I'm through.
slow dancing neon,
The title of the feeling,
dancing neon,
the particular kind of healing that happens when the music picks the moment for you.
two people,
Let the moment pick them through.
slow dancing neon,
The neon and the groove, slow dancing neon.
slow dancing neon,
The two of us who move towards something that the Fridays have been building all along.
slow dancing neon, we belong inside this song.
Baby, baby. Second table from the left. Second table from the left. Second table from the left. That's where we end up sitting. Calvin found somewhere else to be, which felt like something fitting. Her companion left a half hour earlier, she stayed on. And the room rearranged itself until we found her. Common language, not words yet, just the direction of leaning in. When the music changes and you both notice it begins. That particular thing where two people share a frequency and neither one has said it yet officially. Her name is Renee. She tells me like it's a small fact, like she's offered it and now she's waiting for something back. I say my name and she repeats it slightly differently, testing the syllables like trying on a key. The move bass plays this patient thing beneath the booth. The road hits something warm and something close to truth. The soft brass stabs come in the way they always do at this hour, when the room gets smaller and the music gets its power. Second table from the left, where it started to be real. Second table from the left, the conversation and the feel of something that is bigger than the evening we are in. She asks, what brought me out tonight? And I say, the music. Then she says, she's from a city where the nightlife moves too fast, where everyone performs their version of a life that doesn't last. Past the next thing, the next room, the next face. She was tired of moving quick, she came in for the pace. I know the city's pace is slow, if you let it be slow fast. If you're afraid to let the beautiful grow at its own tempo. She says that's exactly right. I say I learned it late. She says some things need the night. We talk about the music, she knows jazz the way that few who didn't grow up next to someone who could tell you who played on what session and what year and what it cost to play it. She knows the difference between the original and the prayer of imitation. I say I learned from an uncle who kept every LP like a temple, like a love that's subtle but total. She laughed, she says her mother kept them too, and for a moment we're both in rooms we knew before the nightlife had a shape. Just houses and just music, and the people who believe the record could illuminate it, make the ordinary evening something worth a staying. She takes a sip and says, this is what I mean about the pace. Second table from the left, that's where you meet the real.
Second table from the left.
Second table from the left,
Beneath the room's appeal,
where the music's low enough to let two people talk, and the night is long enough to let the feeling walk towards something neither person planned to chart it out. Just a second table and the question and the route that neither one was taken till the evening found a reason. Second table from the left, and this is the beginning season. She asked if I come here often, she says it like she knows. It's the classic question and she's asking it because it goes against the grain of what you're supposed to say first. I say most Fridays, she says, good, I'll know where to find you. Worst case scenario, I laugh. Worst case scenario of what she says of being somewhere less serene and slow, where the music isn't muck and the light isn't this warm, where you have to be loud just to be some kind of form. I say worst case scenario is the only case I bring here. I bring it in through the front door and I leave it somewhere near the bar and let the evening hold it for the night. And sometimes I walk out and it seems lighter in the light. She looks at me like she's deciding something, not about me, but about whether this is a conversation she's ready to be in completely. And then she decides yes and says I do the same thing. This is where I decompress. Second table from the left, we found it without looking.
second table from the left.
Second table from the left,
Something slow is cooking.
under all the jazz and all the late night city sound.
Something at the second table slowly comes unwound.
From everything that kept it pressed and planned and held to right. Second table from the left, the best seat of the night. Second table from the left, Renee and the bass knee. Second table from the left, and this is where we'll be.
Windows down, windows down, windows down.
Windows down on the 10. Windows down on the 10, let the warm wind speak. Move bass humming underneath like the city's heartbeat. Neon bleeds through the windshield, red, gold, blue. Every light in the city was designed for two. Been this way since the summer that I learned how to move. slow and deliberate, every step in the groove. She called it magnetism, I call it patience and art. Knowing when to speak and when to play the last part. Crenshaw at midnight has its own kind of church, where the faithful come to cruise and the restless come to search. I don't rush, never rush, that's the first rule I learned. Everything smooth is eventually earned. Neon persuasion, it ain't a hustle, it's a science. Reading every room with quiet self-reliance. Not what you say, but how long you let the silence sit. Not what you want, but whether you deserve it, yeah. She's 2 cars behind, in the pearl white coupe. I see her in the mirror, we both know the loop. This ain't coincidence, this is the city conspiring. Every corner arranged for something worth admiring. There's a spot on Figueroa where the music leaks outside, where the smell of cedar and lemon takes a ride. I pull over slow, let the engine settle down. Some places don't need words, it's the right sound. The rose play something patient in the club inside. A chord that sounds like water finding the right tide. I light up slow, breathe out even slower still. This is the kind of night that only patience can feel. Neon persuasion, it ain't a hustle, it's a science. Reading every room with quiet self-reliance. Not what you say, but how long you let the silence hold. Not what you want, but whether you can carry what you're told. Met a woman once who said she hated player types. I said, darling, everybody's playing. Some just do it right, some do it loud, and some do it with a hand on the door. I do it by remembering everything she said before. Remember the details, that's the signature of care. The way she takes a drink, the way she pushes back her hair. The story from the 3rd date that she thought I'd forget. The small things are the architecture of respect. This city has a frequency that only some can tune. A wavelength in the air between the traffic and the moon. I've been writing this since I was old enough to know that the smoothest path is always the one you take slow. Persuasion, it ain't a hustle, it's a science. Oh, reading every room with quiet self-reliance. And tonight the neon's painting everything in gold. Neon persuasion, warmest story ever told. She finds me at the bar before the song has had to say. Some nights the city just decides to work that way. We talk about the music and the way the night feels earned, and what it costs to be someone who finally learned that slow is not the same as stuck, and smooth is not the same as luck. It's the years of reading rooms and knowing when to stay. It's knowing that the night has its own way. I tip well and I leave before the woman turns to need. The car is still warm, the engine doesn't plead. Windows down, again on the 10. Let the warm wind speak. Move bass humming underneath. The city's still asleep. Down, down, down. Windows down, windows down, windows down. There, baby. There. Champagne and quiet thunder, that's what tonight felt like. She walked in and the room forgot what it was doing right. Champagne and quiet thunder, something soft and something loud. A woman in a feeling in a Friday night crowd. I've been to this spot 100 times, know the bartender's name. Know the booth in the back, know the hour the music changes frame. From the upbeat early evening to the slow late night lean. But I don't know the woman who just walked into my scene. She's with someone or she's not, it's hard to say at this angle. She moved through the room the way a thought can untangle. Something complicated that you've been carrying too long, like hearing the right chord in the middle of a song. I'm not the type who stares, that's not the move I make, but something in the way the light lands on her face makes the champagne in my glass feel like it's holding its breath. Makes the whole room sound like something right before it's there. Champagne and quiet thunder, that's what tonight feels like. The kind of feeling that you can't just let sit polite. Champagne and quiet thunder, two things that don't belong together, and they're beautiful, and it won't last long. My Calvin sees it, he always sees it first. He says, go say something before the feeling gets dispersed. Back into the evening where it started and it'll fade. I said, give me a minute, Calvin, let it breathe, okay? Because the moment before you introduce yourself to something real is the most honest part. You haven't had the chance to feel disappointed yet or complicated, just a pure electrical and noticing before you know you're sure. She laughs at something her companion says, and the laugh is, I don't have a word. It occupies the space between the jazz loop and the move bass underneath, like something the music was arranging for beneath. The whole evening just for this moment to exist, just for one laugh to cut through a Friday's noise and insist on being heard by someone who didn't know he was listening, until the champagne and the thunder started glistening.
Champagne and quiet thunder.
She doesn't know I'm here.
Champagne and quiet thunder.
The distance is still clear, but something moved the night without a single word being said, and I'll carry it home carefully, like something still ahead. Calvin says, you're smiling at your glass, I know that look. I say, I'm not smiling. He says, that's a smile in the book. We've been friends since before the nightlife had this much weight. He knows when I'm performing and he knows when it's real and late. She crosses to the bar, the companion stays seated. This is the moment that the whole evening has been heating toward. Calvin raises his eyebrow, I raise mine back. We both know what's happening in the space of that, and I do the bravest thing I've done in months tonight. I turn and face the bar in order without trying to ignite. A conversation just exists beside something bright, and wait to see if quiet thunder wants to strike. The bartender pours slow.
Champagne and quiet thunder.
She says something low, enough that I almost miss it, but I don't miss it completely. She says, is that the Monk arrangement? I say, yes, exactly.
Champagne and quiet thunder.
That's how it starts, with the right 3 words about a jazz pianist is art.
Champagne and quiet thunder.
Champagne and quiet thunder, soft and electric still. I don't know her name yet, but I think I will. I think I will. I think I will. I think I will. Confession in low light, the hardest kind of made. Confession in low light, when you got everything at stake. Confession in low light, the words are in my throat. Confession in low light, it's everything I wrote. Hey, hey, in the margins of every thought I've had since we first met. Every morning drive where I rehearse something and then forgot. By afternoon, confession in low light tonight, because the wrong word said too early killed the right. Hey, it's the 8th Friday, we stopped counting, but I know she knows, Calvin knows, even the bartender knows a particular way a man sits different when the booth across from him has started feeling like the truth. I've been carrying this sentence for 3 weeks now, in the back of everything, in the house of how I hear the city different on the days between Fridays, in the specific haze of waking up and checking the phone, not for the news, but for whether there's a message in the blues of a Tuesday. That is nothing wrong with it, except it isn't Friday and she hasn't texted yet. And then she does, and the day changes its entire shape. This is the information, the live wire of something that I've been reluctant to name, because naming it will make it a game with actual stakes. And I'm not afraid of stakes, I'm afraid of the particular way love breaks. When it's real, when it's the kind that reorganizes everything,
When it's the kind that surprises
you into being someone you didn't know you were ready to be. And I'm ready, that's what's terrifying me.
Confession in low light,
She deserves the actual words. Confession
in low light.
not hinted, not inferred, yeah.
Confession in low light.
Not performed or perfectly timed.
Confession in low light.
Just true and not refined. Tonight she tells me something she's been holding back as well. Something about the way the evenings feel like a different kind of spell than anything she's been in. She says she doesn't do this, doesn't build Fridays into something like I promise this. Rely doesn't let herself look forward to a specific person, specific presence. The way I've come to mean her Friday. She says she's been trying to figure out what to call it and she can't.
I feel the doubt.
And both of us hanging in the low light of the booth. And I decide that I will be the one who holds the truth first, because she held the honesty last time, and it's my turn to step out from behind the line. I say, I think I'm in love with you. Say it the way you say the true thing, not dramatically, just clearly, like something you've been meaning to say that you meant sincerely. And the room doesn't stop and the music doesn't swell, and she doesn't answer right away, and that's the spell of real confession. It doesn't ask for echo, it just asks to be heard, and then to let the next moment show. Confession in low light. Silence after is the loudest sound. Confession in low light. She's looking at me like she's fine. Something she lost the word for. I don't rush the quiet. Confession in low light. I said it. That's the riot. Hey, hey, hey. In the piece, both at once, the terror and the freak of having said the sentence out loud deliberately to a woman at the second table from the left, who laughed without performing at 1 a.m. and left me changed since the first Friday. Confession in low light. I am entirely myself in this booth tonight. She takes my hand across the table, doesn't speak. Confession in low light. The summit of the peak. She says, I know. She says, I think so too. She says, I've been afraid. This ain't Friday. And then she says, sit back, not perform quietly like the truth. Just clearing the table between us in this booth. Confession in low light. We sit with what we say. Confession in low light. Alive instead of dead. Inside the careful, we said it. Now the night is different, lighter, heavier, more right. Confession in low light. That's the one you keep. Confession in low light. I finally sleep. Every half. Yeah. Every habit on this boulevard was built from somewhere real. The first expensive thing I bought was something I could feel. Not the shoes, not the watch, the feeling of the room. When you walked in like you owned it and the music knew the tune. Started small, a booth instead of bar. A better cut, a pressed collar, a detail on the car. Learn that presentation is the down payment on respect. And some investments never show up on a check, but the boulevard keeps asking for a little more each year. And what you gave last season's just the price to reappear. The women get more beautiful, the space is more refined, and every door you open leaves another door behind. Boulevard of expensive habits, paid in years, not cash. The things that look like luxury are really moving fast. Boulevard of expensive habits. Everything has memory. The cologne I wear tonight is older than my clarity. Lisa used to say, baby, you live like a song, but songs don't pay for themselves when the verses go wrong. She wasn't wrong, she just didn't know the math. Every chorus has a cost you don't see on the path. She moved back to Oakland in the spring of '97. Said the city eats is beautiful like appetite is heaven. I watched it go from the window of a place I didn't own, and learned that the expensive life can make you very alone. But I didn't stop, just recalibrated what I spent. More time on who I'm with, less money on the rent of image. The apartment of who I'm performing for. When the performance ends, is there a me left anymore? Boulevard of expensive habits, paid in years, not cash. The things that look like luxury are really moving fast. Boulevard of expensive habits. Lisa saw it clear. Every expensive thing I have is something I hold dear. The move plays underneath, patient like a river. The roads hits like something warm and something that can shiver. This is West Coast nightlife in its most expensive hour, where everything is draped in something soft but carries power. I know a man named Marcus, 60-something silver hair, who runs the most exclusive room in West LA. Somewhere I asked him once how he maintains the smoothest many years. He said, son, I paid for smooth in ways that weren't clear. The tab comes at the end of every version of this game. The Boulevard remembers every player by his name, and what he spent and what he earned and what he left behind. The expensive habits of a man are just a state of mind, made expensive by the choices that he made at 22. When the city laid his options out and said, what will you do? I chose the velvet over concrete, chose the booth, chose the night, chose the habit of a life that always moves and smooth and bright.
Boulevard of expensive habits, paid in years, not in cash. The things that look like luxury are sometimes moving too fast. Boulevard of expensive habits. Marcus raised his glass to all the beautiful, expensive things that finally passed.
Tonight the brass plays soft over the West Coast groove, and I'm $50-something past what I can prove, but the feeling in the room is still worth every bill. The Boulevard of expensive habits has a beautiful thrill.
And I will walk it one more night, press the collar clean, order something dark and aged, and watch the whole machine of nightlife do its thing beneath the chandelier's glow. Some habits get expensive, but you never let them go.
Every city looks like you now. The neon and the low. Every city looks like you now. Everywhere I go, the particular warm light at the second table from the left. Every city looks like you now. Every room, every breath. I didn't expect this part. Nobody warned you about this. How love repaints the geography, how nothing is the same or missed by your eyes, the way it used to pass unread. Now everything I see has something she has said. Embedded in it, Crenshaw in the early afternoon has a voice in it. Somehow the way a room you share with someone keeps the quality of light long after they gone home. Every city, every night now has that texture. I drive the same streets differently. The Boulevard at 4 p.m. has her in it specifically, in the way the light falls at a certain intersection, where she pointed once and named the source of her direction toward the city. This was the corner where she knew the first morning that this place was hers, and now I knew it too, in a different way. I knew it as the place she showed me, which means it wears her face.
Every city looks like you now.
Everywhere I land, every city
looks like you now.
Every grain of sand on every beach I walked alone before I knew your name.
Every city looks like you now.
Nothing looks the same. I went to another city, business for 4 days. In every room I walk into had your frequencies haze in it. Every jazz bar and every hotel lobby had that quality of almost, but not like a copy of the original. The original being you in the original room at the second table, true to who you are without adjusting for the audience. And I'm the audience now, and I'm conscious of the privilege of it, of being the one who gets to be in the room when the performance is done. And the actual you is sitting with the exit 3 in a diner on a boulevard, talking to me about the architect she almost was. The keys I barely played the particular way. We're both still partially afraid of what we're doing, but doing it anyway. Every city looks like you now. That's the price I pay 1,000 times to see the world through a lens that carries someone's warmth in it, that bends the ordinary into something worth the looking. Every city looks like you now. Something's cooking. I called Calvin from that other city, he already knew. I told him what I was about to say before I knew. He said, so it's real. I said, it's real in a way that reorganizes everything. He said, don't walk away from it. I said I wasn't planning to. He said, good. Some people get this once, make sure it's understood that what you have is specific and it's rare. Not every city looks like someone I'm aware.
Every city looks like you now.
I'm aware.
Every city looks like you now.
Is in fact to the cities that you never been to, but it's true.
Every city I've never loved now
Looks like you.
Every city looks like you now.
Every kind of light This when I get back, I say the other city had you in it everywhere. She says that's kinda pretty and kinda terrifying. I say yes, both at once. She says that's love. I say yeah, that's love. No protocol for this, no game to read the room. Just a particular painting of the whole world's bloom with one specific person's frequency. She laughs, that 1 A.M. laugh at 4 in the afternoon. And Crenshaw outside the window looks exactly right, because she's here. And every city loves its best light, and she is mine now, quietly and warmly mine. And I am hers, and every city looks just fine, 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 fine. Every city.
There's a season. Yeah. There's a season when the game goes right on every single front, when the room's all open easy and you never have to hunt for the angle or the entry or the right word at the door. When the night just keeps on giving like it's never giving more. Call it Mink season. When the fur falls right, when the brass hits warm and the roads feels like light, when every conversation ends exactly where you plan, when you move through rooms like water finding land. Winter in LA don't freeze, but it gets cold in ways you don't notice till the warmth returns. And then you're dazed by how the air smells different when the season's in your favor, when the patience finally pays out and you get to savor every late night that you worked the room and drove home alone, every call you didn't make, every seed you didn't sow before the harvest. Mink season comes for those who wait, who understand the difference between wanting and knowing how to wait. She walks in wearing something from a decade I remember, a fabric that feels like a promise made in November. Kept through every season of uncertainty and push, every man who moved too fast and every woman who wouldn't rush. Her name is Simone, she's from somewhere the sun lives longer, someone who learned that beauty gets more interesting when stronger than the room around it. She doesn't need the light, she brings the temperature herself at midnight every night. We've circled this particular conversation 3 times now. Each time the music changes and we both know how to let a thing develop at its own organic rate. Mink season isn't rushed, it's patient and it's great. Call it Mink season. When the game aligns, when the brass plays soft and everything's by design, when even what you don't say says exactly what you mean, when the player and the night become the same kind of scene. Oh Solomon, oh Solomon, oh Solomon, oh Solomon runs the spot on. Oh Solomon runs the spot on Tuesday, leather booth and back. He's been in this game 40 years and never lost his knack for knowing when to pour without being asked, for knowing which conversations need the music turned up, which needed masked. He told me once, son, you got the patience right. Most men in this game get hungry by the middle of the night. They reach before the reach in time, they grab before the gift. They don't know that the best things in this game require a lift, to lift the time and not a force. The difference is enormous between a man who's smooth because he's earned it and a man who performs it. Solomon pours 2 glasses old, something dark and cold, and we sit in the booth like men who understand the go. The moments when the room is right and everything's aligned, when Mink season finds you when you're ready for what's behind the door. You've been approaching since the very first slow. Now you walked into a room and said, I wanna do this right. Mink season doesn't last, Solomon knows this best. The rooms will cool again and patience gets its test again and again. But when it comes, you recognize the feel of everything you practice finally turning into real. Simone and I talk until the bar announces last light, about the city and the seasons and the cost of doing right. She says she's in her Mink season 2, first time in a long while. I say I know, I watched it happen from across the room and smile. Call it Mink season, warm as it ever gets. Call it the reward of every silence and every decade in patience over years of learning how to move. Mink season, the night inside the groove. I drive home slow, let the roads play in my head, the mood bass underneath like something warm and well fed. This is the season, I've been here before, I'll be here again. But right now the fur is warm and the city is a friend. There's a freezing. Baby, yeah. Yeah. Figueroa on a Friday, warm air, heavy with the exhaust of every car that's trying to move somewhere before it gets lost. She's waiting by the entrance of a spot I know too well, and a red that says this conversation's going somewhere I can't tell from the outside. She has that look that patient people get when they've decided what they're gonna say and haven't said it yet. I park the car and slow, let the engine cool a beat, because I already know this is a different kind of meet. She says, sit down, which is interesting because we're standing. I say, I'm standing, which is interesting. It's some kind of branding. We both know the language. We've been in this room before. Not this one, the one you built when you can't do this anymore. Curtain call on Figueroa. Lights going up, not down. Curtain call on Figueroa. Truth coming off its gown. She seemed to smooth. She's read the protocol. She knows the moves. And tonight she wants the man who lives outside the groove. She says, you know what I've noticed about men like you? Everything is beautiful when nothing is quite true. Not false, just arranged the way your room gets dressed for guests who never see the storage where you keep the rest of yourself. The part that doesn't move through rooms on autopilot. The part that sits with something hard and doesn't try to style it. I say, that's a heavy accusation for a Friday night. She says, I know, and I've been saving it for when the time is right. The mood bass plays somewhere inside the spot behind us. Someone's keeping West Coast rhythm while she tries to find us. The version of this conversation that is somewhere real to land. I reach for something honest, feel it move out of my hand. She doesn't need the platform or the angle or the stage. She needs the man who's standing here to have an actual age. A year of feeling, not just smooth and not just study grace. She needs the crack I showed the mirror on a different face. Curtain call on Figueroa. Lights going up, not down. Curtain call on Figueroa. The game is laying down. I played this avenue 1,000 nights and never once dropped the mask. She's the first one who could see it and still chose to ask. I tell about the mirror-free 14, the bathroom, what I saw. She listens the way women listen when the answer's raw. When they've been waiting for the man to find the exit to the game. Not the exit from her, just the exit from the frame. A smooth that I've been living in so long, it feels like skin. I tell her cousin Derek taught me how to handle everything except the moment when the handling becomes the prison wall. She nods like she already knew this, had been waiting for the call. Curtain call on Figueroa. Because every act must end. The curtain doesn't mean defeat, it means we start again. The lights come up on something that I've never let be seen. On every version of this night that I've ever been. She reaches out and touches the collar that I pressed and says, even now you're pressed, even now you're dressed. I laugh, she laughs, the mood bass finds us on the sidewalk. And for a minute Figueroa feels like nothing but the real talk. We sit eventually inside the booth, the back corner. Order something dark and let the evening play the coroner. Of all the smooth I've carried for the last 12 years. And something less performed comes through, somewhere between the gears. She says she's not looking for the daylight version, if I'm honest. She likes the night, but the man inside the night who keeps his promise to himself. Who knows what's velvet and what's armor anymore. Who walks the boulevard because he loves it, not to keep a score. Curtain call on Figueroa. Ending and beginning. One man exits and another starts the winning. Not the game, just a particular real thing that waits past all the smooth, patient, and still listening. I drive home different. The mood plays something I don't manage. The roads hit softer in the way that music does the damage. Of the true thing, slow and warm and taking all the time. Curtain call on Figueroa. Now the rest of it is mine.
Morning comes for everyone who stays. Morning comes for those who build their lives in haze. Chandeliers and neon and the velvet after dark. Morning comes and asks you you'll carry for the start.
I used to hate this hour, 4:45 the great, before the sun commits to anything they say. The in-between that doesn't belong to night or day, where the nightlife man sits with what he couldn't say at midnight. At the peak, in the booth, in the groove, where the smooth is so complete you don't know what to prove except the smooth. And then the morning comes around and asks what's underneath the smooth you found. I'm learning to sit still in the gray before the sun. I'm learning that the patient game doesn't have to be won every night. Sometimes patience means you put it down and let the morning have the city, let the day of the town.
Morning comes for everyone to stay. Morning comes with softer quavers than the haze of chandeliers and neon mornings, gentle that way. It doesn't ask for protocol, just ask how is today.
I think about the mirror, what it said at 3:14. I think about the woman on Figueroa, what she means about the kind of man she wants, the one who stays for the slow song, who doesn't need the curtain to know where he belongs. I think about old Solomon, what 30 years in rooms can teach about the seasons when the game is good and when it's out of reach, about Mink season and the cold that comes before the warm, about a life that's mostly beautiful and occasionally storm. I think about Monique, what she built from the limelight she chose, how she turned what she learned in the evening into something that grows in the day, something that the morning light can feed, a room where women learn to read the rooms without the need for someone else's chandelier, their own lamp and their own door. And I think about Lisa, what she saw that I was missing in the core of every beautiful, expensive night I thought was living. Morning comes and takes the ledger, shows what you've been given and what you've been withholding, the parts you kept in dark, the parts that needed sunlight and a lesser law but art. Morning comes for everyone, the players and the patrons, the women in the limelight and the men in their formations.
Morning comes for everyone who stays. Morning comes for every vow the velvet made, and could not keep past 4 a.m. when the lights come on. Morning comes and some things stay and some things are gone.
The velvet after dark is still the truest place I know, where the best of what I am gets room enough to show the patience and the presence and the reading of the room, the slow deliberate movement through the beautiful and the gloom. I don't regret the nightlife, I regret the parts I hid from day, the parts that would have made me more complete along the way if I brought them with me when the chandelier went dim, if I let the morning know the man inside the him is smooth, the man who worries and a man who sometimes aches for something quiet and unhurried and without the stakes of every room he enters, just a man who loves the night but learns the morning is the place to get the daylight right. Morning comes for everyone who stays long enough to know that the velvet after dark is just a lamp in the window close of a longer life, a life that holds the night and holds the day. Morning comes for everyone, and I am finally okay.
Velvet after dark, that's the only place I knew. Velvet after dark, but now I'm learning something new. Morning comes for everyone who loved it well. Morning comes and it has something beautiful to tell. Morning comes for everyone. Morning comes for everyone. Morning comes for everyone. Morning comes. She chose the limelight,
Not the daylight. Traded quiet rooms for rooms that shimmer bright. Oh.
she chose the limelight.
Nobody made the call. She walked up to the velvet road herself.
Monique came up from Inglewood, third daughter, second chance. Learned early that the rooms that mattered all involved a dance. Not dancing for the men, dancing for the space. The way a woman learns to weaponize her grace. She was 17 with a vision of a different kind of night, where the light that fell on her was something she had earned the right to stand inside. Not borrowed light, not reflected from a man, but light she generated from her own original plan. Watched the mother clean rooms in Century City, 6 to 4. I came home with somebody else's beautiful on her hands and more. Monique said, "Mama, that ain't gonna be my floor." Oh, and her mama said, "Baby, you gon' need to patient grace. She met 100 Marcuses, could read them on the face. Within the first 2 minutes, where the real weight sat, whether they were powerful or just good at that. She had her rules, no last name till the third encounter. No promises attached to anything after the counter. Hits 2 in the morning, that's when truth gets sloppy. When the smoothness starts to crack and the wanting gets rocky. And she kept the journal, wrote down what the limelight caused. Every night she stayed beyond the point where something got lost. Every morning that the daylight felt like a stranger's apartment. Every time she measured what she gained against the cartridge, she chose the limelight. Nobody said it's painless. She chose the shimmer, knowing shimmer can be stainless or corroded. It depends on who you are when no one's looking. It depends on what you're doing when you think no one's cooking. I met her once, she was 31 and still the room. She didn't need the velvet rope, she was the velvet in the room. I asked her, do you ever want a different kind of night? She said, I want a different kind of daylight. I wanna walk into a room that's lit by something I don't manage, something that exists without my label and my damage. I wanna sit somewhere without reading everybody's play. I want a Tuesday that feels nothing like a Saturday. But tonight I'm still the room, and I will wear this limelight till the limelight dims too soon, yeah. And when it dims, I'll have the journal and the knowing, and maybe something quieter worth growing. Not the daylight. Traded quiet rooms for rooms that shimmer bright. She chose the limelight, the power and the toll. And what she chose to leave, there was entirely her soul. She chose the limelight. She chose the shimmer. She chose the evening over something that was simpler. She chose the limelight, and she chose it all again, even knowing every beautiful thing has a win. Monique is somewhere in the hills tonight. I heard she built something real. A place where women learn the rooms without the men deciding what to feel. She teaches what she learned, the grace, the read, the play, and how to choose the limelight on your own terms anyway.
To be careful, like the night is finally giving her permission to be fearless. The way she laughs at 1 a.m. I didn't expect it then, and now it's the only sound I'm carrying home again. We stayed till they started stacking chairs on tables, till the bartender's eyes got that politely asking you fable of a look, the one that says the night is done for us, and neither one of us was ready for the fuss of leaving. The conversation had that quality, was stopping, it felt wrong, like cutting a melody. In the middle of the best part, we both stalled, pretending to look for coats we'd already recalled. We're on the rack by the door, she said she lost her scarf. I said I'd help her find it. Calvin standing laughing half outside already in the cool LA night air, knowing exactly what's happening and being fair enough to not say anything, just disappear. I thank him later for the grace of not being here right now, in the searching for the scarf she didn't lose in this particular moment that I'd never choose to refuse. The way she laughs at 1 a.m. It started with the scarf, she found it on the first try, and she laughed that laugh. Ooh, the way she laughs at 1 a.m. Unrehearsed and free, not performed for anyone, and somehow aimed at me. I've heard women laugh in rooms across the city's entire landscape, but nightlife heard laughter that was fire, and laughter that was armor, and laughter that was performance for the room around it. Learned the different formations, but the laugh at 1 a.m. it didn't have a room, it didn't have an audience or a reason to assume anything about the shape it should be taking. It was just the thing itself, completely unguarded and waking. Something in me that had been asleep since I can't remember when, some part of me that wanted something real, and then she laughed at her own scarf, at her own small deceit, and I understood this is a person worth a meeting. She says goodnight and means see you again in the particular way that good nights carry, that when you've sat at a
the second table and talked about your mother's records and the city's pace and what the good night life discovers about a person that the daytime doesn't get to see. She says good night, and in my head she says Renee, we'll be back at this spot most Fridays. Second table from the left. Ooh. And if I'm paying any attention, that's enough to care. She laughs at 1 a.m. I walk home slow. Oh, she laughs at 1 a.m. The city seems to know that something shifted in the spot between the last jazz chord and the coat pack and the scarf she already had ignored. The way she laughs at 1 a.m. I'll be back Friday. The way she laughs at 1 a.m. I don't know what to say, except that the nightlife gave me something real tonight, and I'll carry it carefully into the morning light. Calvin texts me from the car, something that just says I know. I text him back, I know you know, it's fine, let it go for tonight. But even as I type it, I'm already mapping out the week between tonight and Friday, counting the days the way you count them when you're young. And something beautiful has just begun to exist in the future, in a specific and a one particular shape. The nightlife in its highest form isn't the chandelier or the booth or the late night groove. It's the specific person who rearranges every room you'll ever walk into from this point forward. How the laughter of one person teaches every room somehow to be a little quieter and a little more prepared for something real to happen. I wasn't scared tonight, I'm not scared now. Just clear the way she laughs at 1 a.m. The way she laughs at 1 a.m. And Friday's almost here. The way she laughs at 1 a.m. Like she forgot the night. Oh. The way she laughs at 1 a.m. Like everything was right, and I was just a man beside a woman at a bar who asked about a monk arrangement. And here we are. Here we are. Here we are. Here we are. What she orders without the menu, that's the kind of knowing that creeps up on you slow while the feeling keeps on growing. What she orders without the menu, small and warm and true, the particular kind of love that lives inside the details you accrue. By the fourth Friday I already know, dark and neat, nothing with ice, something aged enough to meet the standard she carries for the things she puts inside her time. Whether it's a drink or a conversation or a rhyme, she plays me songs the same way without explaining first. Just his play and watches to see if I feel it before the verse tells me what it is, testing if the frequency is there, or if we're just two people who like the same air, but the frequency is there. I know because of how she handed me one earphone without a word somehow. 3 Fridays ago and I heard it and I felt it and I said, this is the one with the sample from the, and she nodded her head. What she orders without the menu, that's the first sign. What she orders without the menu means she's giving some time to be in here enough to know the room well enough to belong. And belonging is a choice, not something that just comes along. She tells me about a relationship she had in her early 20s, a man who was very beautiful and never quite finished any sentence that began with something honest, always ended in the performance of himself, something that he tended and pruned and presented. She said she stayed 2 years watching the presentation and waiting for what appears when the lights go off and the room goes quiet. She says it never came, just more performance, more riot, of beautiful arranged things that didn't add to more than the sum of their arrangement. I understood before she finished. I said I know the version from the other side, the man who was the performance who forgot what's inside. She said I don't think you're that anymore. I said how can you tell? She said you remember what I ordered, and you remember before I've said it twice, and the things you remember aren't the obvious ones. You remember the small things, the things that don't impress at brunch. The things that only matter if you're paying real attention. I said I've been paying attention since before I mentioned your name to Calvin. She laughed. How long? I said I was watching from the other side of the room a long time before the monk arrangement. She said I know. I was watching you watch me. I was taking it slow. But she always without the menu. She was watching me too. But she always without the menu. We both
first night that something was arranging itself. Oh, what she orders without the menu feels like wealth, not money, just the particular kind of rich that come from being known in the specific niche of your actual self. Not the room version, not the dressed up take, but what she orders when nobody's performance is at a stake. I think about the things I know that I didn't go looking for, that accumulated Friday by Friday at the door of whatever she was willing to let accumulate. The way she reads the room when she first arrives, always a beat behind, comfortable, and then catches up. The way she holds a glass without lifting it, just a cup of her palm beneath it, patient. The way she ends every story with the part that surprises her, not the friends or the villain or the lesson, just the part she didn't see coming. I know these things the way you know them, free of intention. They just live in me now. I don't know when they arrive, but I know how to name them. When Calvin asked what's different lately, he said you look like someone who's been sleeping greatly and eating on time. I say it's nothing, he says nothing has a name. What's hers? I say Renee. Stop pushing, pushing, pushing. What she orders without the menu, that's how I know. What she orders without the menu, the way the knowing grows quietly from Friday into something more than knowing what she drinks. I know what she's here for. Same reason I am. The music and the pace, and someone on the other side of the table who makes space for the actual you, and not the version pressed and dressed. What she orders without. She orders without the menu and the rest.
What the miracle?
And the rest.
3 in the morning, wasn't something I could press a collar over. What the miracle confess, I heard it without warning. The smooth life I was living wasn't over, it was over. Yeah, yeah, yeah. 3:14 in the bathroom off the main suite. Muffled music from the lobby finding its way through concrete. I've been here 1,000 nights, tonight the towel looks different. The mirror gives a version that the evening makes efficient. Hidden what it shows you when the rooms have emptied out, when the women leave for taxis and the waiters clean the doubt from every surface. Wipe the evening off the leather, when it's just you and your reflection and whatever it is you actually are beneath the collar in the patience, beneath the neon science in the study situatedness. The mirror doesn't care about the booth in the back, it only shows the face that doesn't know how to come back from a version of yourself that you've been building since 22. And it's beautiful, but baby, is it you? Is there a you beneath the protocol, the silk, the groove? Is there a man inside this man who's still trying to move towards something that's not nightlife, not performance, not the game? The mirror's asking questions and they all sound like my name. What the mirror confessed at 3 in the morning was softer than I wanted it to be. What the mirror confessed, it wasn't harsh, it wasn't scorning, it just asked if I was everything I claimed to be. Remember Terrence, we came up together, same block, same code. He chose the daytime, I chose the night, we took the different road. He called me on a Sunday from my house somewhere in Gardena. Wife, 2 daughters, something ordinary and serener than anything I've ever built in all my years of smooth. He didn't say you're wrong, he said congratulations, man. You moved through that world like it was made for you, and maybe it was made for the version of you that existed before. You were afraid of what he didn't say, and I didn't ask. Some questions are too heavy for a Sunday morning task. I said I'm good, and he said I know, and we both heard the comma after no. The pause where the mirror does its trauma. What the mirror confess is that I know how to enter rooms, I know how to make the evening feel like it consumes itself in the best possible way. I know the protocol, but somewhere past the protocol is where I lost the call of the person I was becoming before the game absorbed me, before the smooth became the sentence in the night ordained me as its resident, its architect, its living demonstration that a man can be a masterpiece of misdirection. I didn't fight it, I just let the silence stay. But the mirror confessed, I heard it like a warning that the velvet life I love has got a toll to pay. Yeah, I splash water on the face the mirror has been using. I press the collar straight, old habit never losing. I walk back out into the lobby where the music's still behaving, where the evening holds a shape and no one knows I'm caving. Just a little, just a crack, just what the mirror knows. Just the part of me that wonders where the daylight goes. For a man who's only comfortable when the lights are low, when the rooms are full of everything but space to grow. I'll be back tomorrow night.
That much I know is true. The Boulevard doesn't let you go with only half a view. But tonight I drive home with the mirror in my chest, confessing everything the velvet hat suppressed. What the mirror confess. I'll carry it back to the game. Walk into the room tomorrow with a different kind of frame. Not less smooth, just more honest, with the man inside the smooth. What the mirror confess is giving something back to lose and find again. And that's the only game worth playing through.
There's a drive I keep returning to, not literally but in the mind. The one where we left the bar and she said, do you wanna find somewhere to go or somewhere to be? And I said both, and Crenshaw opened up in front of us like a slow oath. For the city to the night, like the Boulevard agreeing to hold whatever was beginning to be the place of being present in. That particular drive never really ended. It just expanded, branched, extended into every drive we've taken since. To the dailiness of being two people who chose to be in the same thickness of a life together. The Crenshaw drive was the first sale of something that's still dividing, that's still willing to tell its origin story in the body's memory. The way the air smelled and the particular frequency of the song she played, and how neither of us spoke for the first 3 blocks, and something in that quiet broke. The drive that never ended, the beginning of the rest. The drive that never ended, it was all of it compressed into that first stretch of Boulevard at closing time. The drive that never ended, hers and mine.
I understand that with the late night drop.
I understand now what the late night drive does for people who can't always find the words in the rooms. The cathedral of the moving car is different. Something about velocity at the city's pace, and the ferocity of feeling being softened by the looking out at light that's passing. The way a drive makes everything right, for saying something true, the same as how a song makes the confession possible. That conversation kept too long. She told me once, after the nights had stacked into something real, that she knew on that first drive something about how I feel about the world. Not from what I said, but from how I drove, slow, deliberately, like I was driving through something that I wove with care. She said most people drive too fast through beautiful things. She knew I let the beautiful last as long as it wanted. I said I didn't know she was watching. She said I'm always watching. I said that's actually something I find completely wonderful. She laughed, and the mood bass somewhere in our shared playlist drafted us back into the sound of every Friday we'd accumulated. Every drive home separate before we navigated the drive that never ended into the same destination. The drive that never ended. Renee and the patience of building something slowly in a nightlife's particular light. The drive that never ended, our first right. Drive that never ended. I think about what Calvin said, some people get this once. I think about the Fridays that could have been months of sitting in a room next to something real and never reaching for it. Never being clever enough to turn toward the bar and ask about the monk arrangement. Never taking the task of vulnerability seriously enough to say I think I love you on the 8th Friday. I think about the version of myself that leaves at 1, that doesn't stay for the last slow song that's done by the time the drive would happen. And I choose the version of myself who has everything to lose by trying and chooses to try anyway. Who drives slow on Crenshaw and lets the city say what it needs to say in the space between two people. Finding something equal, something real, something real. The drive that never ended, it's still going understand. The drive that never ended, I reach over for her hand. She's reading in the passenger seat now, different year. The drive that never ended, still here, still here. The drive that never ended, Crenshaw in the world's best. The drive that never ended, the city at its best. The drive that never ended, I read all we find together. The drive that never ended, whatever, ever, after, forever in it. Showed it when they're asking, Do you wanna go somewhere?
The drive that never ended.
Because I said yes, I'll be there.
The drive that never ended.
The mood bass in the night.
The drive that never ended.
Still moving in the right direction.
Crenshaw.
Yeah.
Crenshaw.
Second Friday.
Crenshaw.
Yeah.
Crenshaw.
Second Friday, she's already at the table when I walk in. The scarf is there this time, no theatrics, no beginning of a search. Just her in the booth and her half-finished drink, and the smile that says she knew I'd come before she had to think twice about it. We order, we pick up where we left. The conversation like it hadn't spent a week on a shelf between us. Some conversations do that. Stay warm like the city keeps its heat even past the storm of the evening. We talk for 3 hours, maybe 4, till the bartender gives us the polite but final score. We pay and step outside into the Crenshaw air, and she asks, do you wanna drive, or do you just wanna be there? Crenshaw at closing time, the city in its loosest hour, when the nightlife empties out and the streets reclaim their power. Crenshaw at closing time, windows down, the bass is low. She picks the next song, she picks right, and we go. She has a playlist she's been building since her 20s. Every song a marker of a feeling she was counting on being able to find again. She hits play and something roads heavy fills the space between us swaying. I keep both hands on the wheel. This isn't the moment for anything but the music and the boulevard and more, or what the conversation was inside. But open now to the night air and the street lights and the somehow of two people in the car discovering the overlap between their separate lives, the ways the city maps, the same coordinates on different paths. She grew up east of here, I grew up west. We both know the cup of the basin from a different angle. How the same grid of streets and boulevards can carry a different name. The memory, her Crenshaw and my Crenshaw share the bones, but hers has specific corners, mine has left alone. Crenshaw at closing time, she's pointing out the spots.
The Crenshaw club.
Crenshaw at closing time, the ones that time forgot.
Yeah.
The corner where her aunt kept the beauty shop till 96, and mine where the record store had every 7-inch. We stop for lights and neither of us fills the silence with performance. We've already moved past that. There's an understanding forming, not yet spoken. Just the quality of quiet that exists between two people who don't need to deny it. That something's happening, not rushed, not planned, just real. The kind of real that only surfaces when you feel safe enough to not explain yourself too much, safe enough to let the city do the talking as such. She says, you know what I like about this hour? The city looks like it belongs to us. The power of being in the car at closing time when no one is performing anymore, when everyone is done. I say I know, I've driven these streets alone for years at this exact hour, always felt like home. But tonight it feels like something I'm encountering for the first time from the outside, like hearing your own name in someone else's verse. Crenshaw at closing time, she leans her head back slow.
Crenshaw.
Crenshaw at closing time, the playlist and the low. Hum of the engine in the city, breathing out, and neither one of us is anywhere but now. I pull up to a building, neither of us moves immediately. The song is still running, something about leaving beautifully. She said she had a good night the particular way. That good night means much more than the words can say. I say me too. She says same time next Friday. I say I'll be there before you. She says we'll see about that, and she smiles with her whole face leaving the car. And I watch the lobby swallow her and sit with the guitar loop fading out. Crenshaw quiet now around me, and the steering wheel warm. Something in me found me at the exact right time. That's what this feeling is. Crenshaw at closing time. It's mine. Crenshaw at closing time, the boulevard, the drive.
Crenshaw
at closing time, the most alive I felt in years, and all we did was ride.
Crenshaw
at closing time, she's the reason why.
Crenshaw After the chandelier dims, the room shows its bones. The velvet pulls back and the ordinary moans through the furniture and the fixtures in the dull morning light that doesn't care about what happened in the night. I've seen this moment too many times to be surprised. The way the beautiful contracts when it's been recognized by the morning. The way glamour needs the dark. The way the chandelier doesn't shine in the park of the daytime. It only lives in its specific dark. And so does the version of yourself you keep apart for the evening, for the rooms, for when the music's right, for when the chandelier makes everything seem bright. After the chandelier dims, the drive home is quiet. After the chandelier dims, no need to justify it. Just a man in a car on an empty west side street, in the mood bass in his memory, in the feel of a beat. She's asleep by now or awake in a different way, somewhere between what the evening was and what the day is about to ask of her and me and all the ones who live for what the chandelier becomes. When it's lit, that particular quality of gold, that particular warmth that only night light can hold. I've given years to that warmth, don't regret the giving, but I'm starting to understand there's a different kind of living. Not instead, alongside the night and the day, not choosing one and losing all the others. Wait, Solomon told me, son, the men who last the longest know when to rest the muscle that has always been the strongest. The smooth muscle, the reading room's muscle, the patient art needs its sleep, the same as everything with the heart. After the chandelier dims, let the room go dark. The next night it'll light again, that's the contract and the mark. And we game, get the game. I pass a diner on the 10 that's always open late or early, depending on the side of time you take. A booth inside a coffee, the particular neon pink of diners that exist outside the game, outside the rink of nightlife, and a smooth just eggs and someone tired behind the counter, and a version of yourself unhired from all the roles you play. Just a man at 4 in the morning with the coffee and whatever the last few hours were adorning. The understanding I came home with, that the game is given something real beneath the game, and that's the gift of living through a thing this long and finding in the architecture something that the chandelier was always trying to lecture. That every beautiful, expensive, gorgeous lit up room is just a container for the human things that bloom inside it. The conversations and the questions and the slow songs that last past midnight and refuse to let you go. After the chandelier dims, the container is just walls. After the chandelier dims, the music's just a hall that led you to the moment where the real thing had its say. After the chandelier dims, you carry what you'll carry anyway. Roads plays in my chest as I pull up to the house, quiet as a thought that's learning how to come out of the dark and into something that the morning light can hold. After the chandelier dims, that's when you find the gold, not the expensive kind, the other kind, the kind that waits for you at the back of your own mind. When the rooms have emptied out and the music's finally still. After the chandelier dims, the realest time to reel. I sit in the car a moment, let the engine cool all the way. The city's breathing different now, 3 hours until day. Somewhere a chandelier is already waiting to be lit. After the chandelier dims, we rest before we will remit to the beauty of the evening in the Boulevard at night. After the chandelier dims, I'm learned to recommend worth living by. Not the chandelier, not the neon glow, the small lamp in the window that says someone's home and knows.
That's the kind of love I need.
Still here when the lights come on.
Not just what the nightlife seems.
Still here when the lights come on.
The morning and the real.
Still here when the lights come on.
And everything I feel.
I used to wonder what I do with love in the daylight. Used to think that maybe I was built for Friday night. That the version of myself that mattered only lived in booths and boulevards. And everything I give to a room that asks for presents that may be outside the low lights and minimal bass in the late night tempo, I would be somehow less, somehow not the same person who could offer something more than the game of nightlife. Could offer something more than knowing when to speak and when to order and where to be and then leave beautifully. Could I be the person who stays, who shows up Tuesday morning, who comes through in the unremarkable hours that love requires, as much as the champagne and the quiet fires of Thursday nights and Fridays? She answered that question not by asking it, by being there without exception.
Still here when the lights come on.
Still her, still me.
Still here when the lights come on.
The domesticity of love that found its footing on a Friday at a bar.
Still here when the lights come on.
Here we are, here we are. Here's what the nightlife taught me and then gave me as a gift. Here's the knowledge underneath the smooth and underneath the shift of a man who finally understood that what he'd been arranging all those years of reading rooms was not a stage for ranging through the beautiful evenings without landing anywhere. It was practice. It was the particular care of learning how to be present in a room completely, how to listen to the frequency, how to see what matters underneath the surface. All of that turned out to be preparation for the flat and gorgeous and unglamorous and honest work of being in a love without a promise that is easy. Just the promise that it's real, that when the neon dims there's something left to feel. Beside the music in the mood bass, there's a person who I found across the table in the version of the nightlife that gives its best gifts to the ones who take it seriously, who wait for the suns and the moons of a good Friday to align exactly right, and then ask about the monk arrangement and stay the night.
Still here when the lights come on.
It was always this. Still here when the lights.
Still here when the lights come on.
The point, the premise of every room I ever walked into looking for something I couldn't name. It was her, it was more. She makes coffee without asking, now knows how I take it. The way I know what she'll order, how she'll make it. Through a difficult week that tells the frequency I read, not as a reader of rooms, but as a man who needs to know how she is. Not perform, knowing, actually know the difference between when she needs the space to go into herself and when she needs me there beside her. The particular grammar of a love that has a wider range than any nightlife that exists in Tuesday and in Thursday mornings when there's nothing smooth or musical to say. Just the ordinary of two people who chose well and keep choosing. Every day is how you tell if what the nightlife started was a flower or a fire. The fire burns the room, the flower grows higher than the booth and the confession in the first drive. Love that survives the neon is the love that's most alive.
When the lights come on.
Champagne and quiet thunder.
Still here when the lights come on.
The most beautiful wonder. Not the neon or the velvet or the low light in the booth. It's the morning with Renee. It's the ordinary truth.
Still here when the lights come on.
Second table from the left. Still here. Still here. Still here.
When the lights come on.
The laugh, the drive, the rest of everything we built from one arrangement by a monk. Still here. Still here.
Still here when the lights come on.
The best of the funk is not the Friday, it's the person at the Friday found. Still here.
Still here when the lights come on.
Still here. Still here. Still here. Still here.
There's a protocol. Hey. Ooh, yeah. There's a protocol of skill. There's a protocol of skill.
Everybody.
There's a protocol to silk. It don't wrinkle, it don't rush. Speak before you're spoken to, and you've already said too much. The protocol of silk. Patience is the first degree. Everything I built was built so slow you couldn't see.
Learn from watching men who never raised their voice, who made the whole room quiet just by making a choice to walk in like the flow was made specifically for them, like every song was written just to play right when they cross the threshold. Presence as a language, not aggression. Silk, the art of being ageless. Every word a calculation, every pause a statement. The smoothest men I know treat time like an investment. My cousin Derek used to say, boy, stop reaching. The things that matter come to those who do their teaching. Teach your posture what authority looks like. Teach your voice the frequency of a warm night. So I study rooms, hotel lobbies, jazz clubs, and backstairs. The way the life falls different on the ones who act like theirs, who treat the evening like a painting they're completing, whose silence makes the room around them start competing. The protocol of silk, it don't wrinkle, it don't rush. Speak before you're spoken to, you've already said too much. The protocol of silk, patience is the price you pay. Everything worth having has a toll along the way. And what she saw when I walked in wasn't ego at the door, it was someone who had done this work and still wanted more. She asked me once, do you ever let your guard down? I said I let it down so slow you miss it come around. By the time I'm open, darling, it's already felt. The guard just softens, it was never truly built. There's a difference between armor and a spine. Armor's borrowed fear, a spine is genuinely mine. I don't perform the smoothness, it's the residue of patience, of knowing what I want and matching it with statements, actions, not declarations. That's rule number 4. Show up when the showing matters, don't explain the score. The men who talk about their code the most got East to show. The ones who live it don't need anyone to know. Cousin Derek's gone out, left before the decade turned. Left behind a lesson that I'm only now still learning. That still requires something underneath the hold is shape, not muscle, something softer, something harder to escape. The protocol of silk, it don't wrinkle, it don't rush. Speak before you're spoken to, and you've already said too much. The protocol of silk, I learned it years before tonight. The things that look like magic are just discipline in life. Tonight I move through rooms the way he showed me easy earned. Like every right I'm exercising is a right I learned. No entitlement, no desperation, no performance for the crowd. Just a man who knows his worth and doesn't have to be loud. She sees it, they always see it, can't manufacture that. The frequency of someone who has genuinely come back from somewhere hard and chose to stay smooth anyway. That's the protocol, that's what the silk is trying to say. The night has its own grammar and its own reward for those who learn to conjugate in patience, not in sword. And I will not be rushed, and I will not be loud. I am exactly what the protocol allows. The protocol of silk, it don't wrinkle, it don't rush. Everything I built was built so slow you couldn't see the touch. Protocol of silk, protocol of silk. Patient as the velvet, warm as evening milk. Protocol of silk.
This is the last slow song of the evening. This is the one that the DJ saves for late. This is the last slow song. The room is breathing low and warm before the night releases away.
Yeah. The crowd as thin to the ones who don't want it to end. To the women who've been dancing for themselves since 10. To the men who found something real somewhere after 2. And a few of us who always stay till the music's through. She's still here, we both knew she would be. The slow song starts and the room makes room for me and her. The space between us has been patient all night long, waiting for exactly this, the last slow song. I put my hand at the small of her back, she doesn't pull away. We move the way you move when something matters, and you say it with your body, because the words haven't caught up yet with what the evening has become, and it isn't over yet.
This is the last slow song
Of the evening, she leans in just enough to make the question clear.
This is the last slow song.
I hear it breathing, the answer I've been building for the better part of a year. She says, you know, most men in rooms like this don't stay for the last slow song, they don't want the risk of something real showing up in the last 3 minutes, when everything they built is still inside the limits of the performance. She says she's watched them go at 150, 2 at most, before the slow song clears the room of the ones who can't afford to be seen in something softer than their standard chord. I say I've been one of those men more times than I'll name. I used to leave before the slow song. Same reason the last song asked for something true, and I wasn't always sure I had it to give you or anyone. The slow part always fine, what you've been keeping folded somewhere in the blinds, behind the protocol and the smooth and all the rest. The slow song reaches in and finds what's left. The last slow song. Don't tell me what it costs. This is the last slow song. I've counted what I've lost, and I'm still here. I'm still moving in the lows. It's the last slow song. Don't let me go. We dance through the bridge and into something I can't name. Not love yet, not yet, but adjacent to the flame of something that could be real if the morning doesn't kill it. If the daylight doesn't find a way to spill it. Back into the ordinary, back to pressed collars in the booth, back to the boulevard that doesn't ask for truth. She asks, what happens after the song? I say something I've been too smooth to admit for too long. I've been the last slow song all along. The entrance music, the one that plays when the crowd is gone, when the room's empty out and the real thing starts, when the playlist runs to the end and you know your parts have changed. The player becomes the person who stays, who walks into the daylight and lets the mirror say whatever it needs to say and doesn't walk away, because the last slow song is the first note of a different day. This is the last slow song of the evening, and I will stay for every single bar. This is the last slow song, and I believe in the man I'm becoming from the man I am. The room is breathing, every couple left is holding something warm. It's the last slow song, and I am leaving the version of myself that used to weather every storm. With armor dressed as silk, with patience dressed as game. This is the last slow song, and nothing is the same. The music fades to the hum of the floor. She keeps her head right there, a beat or more. The lips, it looks at me, and neither of us explains. The last slow song ends and the quiet remains. And the quiet is the realest thing the nightlife ever gave. Not the velvet, not the limelight, this is what I'll say.